right, so it's time. Let's get started to talk about coaching. Okay, let me start my presentation here. Welcome everybody. My name is Marcela Harrisberger, and I'm an English teacher and also a coach. I live in Germany, and all my classes are online. I teach Brazilian students, mostly adults. Oh, no. Nowadays, only adults, and they are all mostly business English students. I've been living here for a year and a half now, and since I moved here, I started teaching online, so this is something I've been doing, and I've been having great results with the classes online. Today, we're going to be talking about coaching in the classroom. I hope to clarify what coaching is and how you can use it in your classes so that you can help your students reach their fluency goals. Let me tell you a little bit about why I became a coach. I've been a teacher for over 17 years, and ever since I started teaching, I was always very eager to learn about how we could motivate students and make them more engaged and committed to doing their share of the work, which is very important. I made sure that I did my best in the classroom. I took a lot of training. I'm a CELTA-certified teacher, and I have a lot of experience with adults, but I felt that something was missing, that I needed something extra to help my students really achieve their goals. And then I think someone's microphone is on. Okay, I'm muting you guys, but just for now, okay, just for the quality of the recording. So then I decided to look somewhere else because I found out that the training I had was not enough. And then I came across coaching, and after my coaching training, things started to get more clear, and I started to get more effective results, not only for my students, but also for myself. And coaching is something real. It's not something that anyone can do. There is proper training, there are lots of techniques, and the coach needs to have the appropriate skills in order to coach other people. It's a great responsibility, but once you have the proper training, you can get very effective results with your students. So this will be my agenda for today. We're going to talk about the origin of coaching, the roles of the teacher and the roles of the coach. How are they similar or different? I'm going to show you the Grow coaching model and some possible applications in the classroom. And of course, if you have questions, please take notes, and in the end, we're going to have some opportunity to talk about everything. Let's get started. Okay, so why is coaching important? Yeah, so why do people need coaches? Our students need fluency. Nowadays, the level of English that they have is not enough for them to perform whatever they need to do in English. And the level of English they have today is inside their comfort zone, right? In order to reach another level, this fluency that they need to stretch this comfort zone up to a moment where the fluency they want to have is part of their comfort zone. And then this process of stretching the comfort zone needs to be supported by a process, because changing is very hard. And our natural state of mind will always avoid change, because our brain wants to be in the comfort zone, because thinking takes a lot of time and requires a lot of effort. And this is not something natural for us. So what happens? We have this goal, yeah, like in the beginning of the year, everybody has goals. Our students always come to classes in the beginning of the course very motivated and full of energy. But then as life starts to happen, as I like to say, students start to feel more tired, and they tend to let their English and their fluency goals aside to prioritize other things such as personal life or professional issues. So this process of keeping the behavior that they need to change in this rhythm of changing, in fact, this process needs to be supported by a coach. If the process is supported by a coach, the change will be much more sustainable, and the motivation will be much more sustainable as well. Willpower is not enough, because willpower fades away when other problems come in the middle. We need to find out some strategies to avoid giving up, strategies to prepare us for the moments where things get hard. And that's what coaching helps students to do. And we can do that in the classroom, we can do that in English as part of the class, inside the methodology that you use. It's something extra. It's not your class. It's part of the class. And with tools and techniques I'm going to talk a little bit about throughout this webinar. Human beings are made of habits, and we are what we are because of the habits that we have. Our students have their level of English they have today because of the habits they have of studying. So how we are going to help them build new habits, change and improve behavior they have today that do not support their learning goal. The coaching process is what is going to help them get there. So that's why coaches are needed in life for not only learning English, but for many other, any other goal, as we can say. And let's talk about the origin of coaching. Nowadays, coaching, coach, coachee, all these terms, they are very common and very popular. Everybody talks about it. And because of the lack of regulation in the field, anyone can call themselves a coach. There is no rule, and this is the biggest problem why people don't trust coaches. Some people think that coaching is something that was made up, but there are some very qualified people getting some nice results, and there are lots of things that we can learn from coaching if we open up our minds and try to understand a little bit more what coaching really is. So the term coach dates back to the 16th century. The word coach comes from the Hungarian word koksi or kochi. I don't know exactly the pronunciation of the word, but it was used to name this carriage that was used to transport people and goods from one place to another. With time, from Budapest to Vienna in Austria, with time, someone had the brilliant idea of improving the coach, and someone, we don't know the name of this person, no one took notes of it at the time, but someone made a more comfortable coach to transport people from one place to another. And then, years and years later, in the 19th century, this term coach was used for the first time in a figuratively way to describe teachers, not teachers, tutors, that helped students to pass a test in England, in a university in England, in a more comfortable way. The students had to do this test, and it was a very hard test, so these tutors helped the students move from one place to another, yes, and to get these results in the test. And this tutor was called a coach because of the idea of the coach transporting people from one place to another in a more comfortable way. So it's interesting how the first time the term coach was used in a field that was not related to transportation, it was used to refer to education. So coaching and education, they go way back. And we can also, we can nowadays see how they match and how they support each other. And then with time, the term became more and more popular later with the sports and as I can show you here in more details, in 1980, in the 1980s, the term became very popular in the business area with the executive coaching. And nowadays, coaching is very popular everywhere. Yeah, we have coaches helping people to lose weight, to have coaches helping people find out their purpose in life. There are coaches helping people do whatever they want, because it doesn't matter your goal. If you have a goal, you can have a coach to help you. And that's the thing. The coach doesn't need to be from the area of expertise of the coachee, yeah, of the client. If you want to coach your student and you have no experience with what your student does professionally, it doesn't matter, because you are not going to tell your student what to do. You're going to use tools and techniques to help your student find out what they believe they can do to reach the goal. That's why it doesn't matter which area the client is dealing with. The coach is not there to give advice. The coach is there to support the process. And that's why there are coaches for all kinds of areas nowadays. Moving on, let's see the definition of coaching. What is coaching? To talk about the definition of coaching, it is easier to say what coaching isn't. Coaching is not consulting, it's not tutoring, it's not psychotherapy, it's not counseling, it's not training, and it's not teaching. Every time I talk about coaching to teachers, some teachers say, oh, but I already do that in my classroom. I don't think so, because coaching is different. Yeah? When I am coaching my students, I have to refrain myself from being a teacher at the same time, because as teachers we are most of the time telling our students what to do, and the coach shouldn't do that. We should be a way, a resource to help people find out what they believe they can do. And this is the biggest difference between coaching and all these other areas that I showed here. Because in all the other areas, the person gives advice and the person tells the other what to do. And the coach shouldn't do that. In coaching, we listen to people, we ask questions, we explore the reality and the life context of the person, and we try to help them see the options that they have available, what they need to have that they don't have today, and what they can do about it. But at any time should we tell them what to do. The client, the student, will only commit to the action plan if they actually come up with it. And this is the process that we are going to help facilitate throughout the use of coaching tools and the techniques I'm going to show you today. What coaching really is then? It's unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them. So how coaching and teaching come together? They complement each other. Yeah? Coaching is, as I see, another resource the teacher can use to help the student reach the goal. It doesn't help the student learn. It's different. To teach the student, we have other techniques and methods that we already know that we already use in the classroom, the coaching comes as a resource to help people be more efficient, more effective in what they are doing. As you can see here, we have the roles of the teacher based on the book by Jeremy Harmer. So a teacher is a facilitator, the teacher is there's a transmission of teaching, the teaching is a controller, organizer, monitor, prompter, a resource. We know all the roles of the teacher. And the roles of the coach. Yeah, so the coach is going to work on helping people be more prepared for what comes when life really happens. So coaching is about planning, preparing for the future, anticipating possible problems that may prevent the students from reaching their goals, is preparing solutions in advance. So when I face this problem that I believe I may have, what am I going to do? So coaching will help people have a plan B. It's all about being strategic towards the goal and ensuring no matter what happens, people will keep moving forward towards the goal. Coaching goes beyond the classroom because all the techniques that we apply in the classroom, students will take to other areas because they become more efficient people, not only in learning English, but in other areas of their lives as well. Coaching focuses on improving and changing behaviors and habits that do not support the learning goal. Coaching is planning and using strategies to make sure you actually follow the action plan. Because when we make a plan, think about every time you use a needs assessment tool with your student at the beginning of the year, and then you ask them, so what are you going to do now this year to improve and to reach your goal? And your students have a list of things they're going to do, and they're all very excited about it. But then 1 month, 2 months later, and things are not being done anymore. Your students are tired, and the motivation fades away. Why this happens? Because they did not prepare for the plan that they have. They did not prepare for what they would do when they had a problem. They did not think about the whole process of reaching the goal. They just thought about the beginning. And as a coach, we show them all the steps. We make sure their goal is really attainable. We make sure that they are really aware that the goal that they have and the action plan that they created, they match, and that the context of life allows them to do what they want to do, what they believe they can do to reach the goal. And this process will help people be more efficient in attaining their goals. So the role of the coach is to partner with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And imagine how much you can do in the classroom with your students when you apply the coaching tools and techniques to help them improve. So, I have my own definition of the roles of the teacher coach, and I like to say that the teacher coach, just a little second guys, okay, so the teacher coach is there to motivate more efficient behavior. I'm sure that you guys, and as I also do, you guys do the best you can to prepare the best lesson, the most interesting lesson possible, to engage your students, to motivate them, to make them interested in the topic. But the problem is, it's not what we do in the classroom that is preventing your students from learning. It's not what we do in the classroom that is creating this problem for our students. It's what they are not doing at home. Let's face it, adult students, they need to have this moment of autonomous studies much more than any other students. But they are the ones that they have so many things to do and they simply can't find the time to study, to do homework, to practice the language, and they keep moving towards something that they never reach. And that's what happens to our adult students. So in order for them to really learn and for them to really make progress, effective progress, they need to do things at home. And if they keep doing things the way they do nowadays, nothing is going to change. If we keep doing things the way we do now, nothing is going to change. So my biggest objective with my coaching with my students is to motivate more efficient behavior. I want people to be more engaged. I want them to be motivated to get home and find time to study English, because otherwise I'm gonna keep teaching them forever, because we know that they simply don't get there. My point with my students is to question them assertively, and I'll give you an example of how I do that a little bit further in the talk today. I listen to them actively, but not only to correct mistakes as we do when we are teaching. I listen to what they are not saying. I try to get precious information, and I try to identify coaching moments. And that's something we're going to talk a little bit about later as well. I promote reflection about learning, because we talk a lot about what we are teaching, but sometimes we don't talk to them about learning and about how they can be better at learning. So we talk about strategies. I talk to them about time management, because if they cannot manage their routine, how are they going to fit English studies in their lives? So coaching goes, as I said, beyond the classroom. And most of all, I'm there to encourage and facilitate autonomous work. I want my students to be able to get home with their 20 minutes that they have to study English, and I want them to make the best out of it. I want the 20 minutes to be efficient and enough for them to memorize, learn, and move on. All right, and then we come to the Grow coaching model. There are lots of coaching models nowadays. This one is the one I use, it's the one I was trained in, and it's very effective. It is one of the most popular models available. And GROW stands for Goal, Reality, Options, and Will. What happens is that when we choose a coaching model to use with our students, all the tools, techniques, and the coaching dialogue will follow this model. And this is the one that I use with my students. So the first part of the GROW coaching model is the goal. So what do you want? And for the goal phase, there are lots of tools that we can use to uncover the goal and to help our students create sustainable goals that goals that go beyond, just 1 or 2 months at the beginning of the course. In the reality phase, we are going to see where the student is at this point. We're going to check their life context. We're going to see the resources they have, what they need to have, and how they can deal with the things they need to change. Options will encourage students to come up with ideas of what they can do in order to either change their behaviors or find some solutions to problems they may be facing that are preventing them from learning. And also options for them to actually reach their learning goal. And will is the part where we create the action plan that will help students get to their objective. At this point, I'm going to show you a little video. It's a very short video for you to see how this model works. Okay, here we go. Very fast, let's see.
Welcome to Grow. Grow is a very simple and easy-to-use model for coaching your team members. It's a great way to encourage real accountability, solve problems, and stimulate growth and development in your team. You facilitate your team members' thinking and help them come up with solutions themselves, motivating and encouraging them through your questions. GROW stands for Goal, Reality, Options, Way Forward. Goal is what you agree the outcome to be, and it should come from the person being coached. Ask questions like, so what specifically do you want to achieve? How will you know when you've achieved this? What will the goal enable you or allow you to do? And for what purpose do you want to achieve this? Reality is agreeing where your team member is now in relation to the goal they want to achieve. You need to explore where the person being coached is now before planning to move forward. Ask questions like, where are you now in relation to your goal? What's the impact of this? What resources do you already have which will help you to achieve your goal? Options is all about the different ways they can reach the goal. Brainstorm many different ways to achieve the goal, then narrow it down to a few. Ask questions like, what are your options? What else? What are the pros and cons of each option? If you didn't have any constraints, what would you do? If this was my goal, what advice would you give me? Way Forward is all about the next steps, ensuring they actually do something. Ask questions like, what's your first step? What are you going to do in the next 24 hours? How committed are you to achieving this goal? So now you know. Grow. Go out and get coaching.
Okay, so I can provide you with this link later so that if you want to watch it again. But the basic idea is every coaching tool and every coaching conversation will cover all the phases of growth. Let me give you an example how this happens in the classroom. As I said, I try to listen to what my students are not saying. And a few weeks ago, I was teaching this student. He's been my student for 2 years. He works for a multinational in Brazil, and he is a B2 level student. And we were correcting a piece of homework, and he read a sentence, and he was supposed to fill in some blanks in the sentence, and he chose some options that made completely no sense. And then I asked him to read again, and I asked him, what do you mean by that? Read it again. If you were reading the sentence in Portuguese, what would it be? What are you trying to say? And he read the sentence and he explained to me the way that he understood. And it was completely wrong. There was one word that he didn't understand in the sentence, and in fact, he understood the way he wanted. Yeah, he didn't know the word. He just grasped the meaning by the context, which wasn't correct, and then he came up with an answer based on that idea that he created in his mind about the sentence. And then I asked him, what is the meaning of this word? I knew he didn't know the word. And he said, something. And I said, did you check this? Did you look it up? No. And how did you come up with this meaning? Oh, I guessed. And I say, okay, let's talk about this. At this point, I spotted a coaching moment with my student, and it was a great conversation. And then I asked him, okay, let's go back a little bit. Remember in the beginning of the year that we talked about your learning goal and how much you need English and about that plan that you have of moving to Germany to work at the branch your company has there? Oh yes, I remember. Okay, and how much do you need to learn English? Oh, a lot. I said, yes, I know. We've been together for some time. And how do you think this behavior that you had, looking at a word that you've never seen before, guessing the context, not looking it up, not confirming your ideas, filling in the blanks, and not making any sense, how do you think all of this attitude will help you reach this goal that you have of moving abroad and speaking English at a company abroad? How do you think this is going to help you? And he stopped and he thought, and he was clearly embarrassed, and he started laughing, and I started laughing as well. We have this level of personal relationship because we've been together for a while. And then I said, okay, so this is what you did this time. For next time, what else could you do in order to get more out of this homework that you had to do? Because, let me tell you something. When I ask you to do a piece of homework, it's not just to keep you busy at home. I want you to really learn from it. I want you to understand what you're doing, not just do something mechanical, just filling in blanks. I want you to get something out of it. And he said, yes, I didn't think about it. So next time, maybe I can, before doing the homework, I can check all the words that I don't know. I can circle them and look them up. Oh, that's a great idea. What else can you do? Oh, maybe I can write these words down and have a list of words that are new to me. Oh, that's great. And what else do you think you can do that could help you memorize these words? And with these questions, I reached a certain level of reflection for this student that we had never had before. And we had a whole class talking about his behavior towards learning. And in the end, he was, oh, thank you so much for this conversation. It really helped. I wasn't really present at the moment I was doing the homework. I was really tired. I had worked overtime that day, and I just did this exercise because I knew you would be upset if I didn't do it. So I said, okay, so next time you don't need to do the exercise just to please me. Do it because you really want to get something out of it. And when you do it, be present. And it was a great coaching moment that we had. The conversation was very nice. And little by little, we help our students change the behavior, how they deal with the language, how they deal with learning. They are much more engaged and committed. They have such little time to study, but if they really commit to being there when they are studying for that little time, I'm sure they're going to profit much more. And that's one of the ways that the teacher coach can use coaching techniques in the classroom. There are lots of tools that cover all the phases. So if you take training in coaching, you will be presented with many tools, and all the tools that we get from, for example, life coaching. Yeah, you can get training as a life coach, and you can adapt all the tools to be used in the classroom. That's what I do. Yeah, I am originally a life coach, and I adapt the tools to use with my students. But the most important tool that we have is the coaching dialogue, because in these precious moments that we have with them, instead of just telling the student, don't worry about it, let's look up this word together, or I'm sorry teacher, I didn't do the homework, oh don't worry about it, let's do it now. Instead of just doing that and being friendly to the student, we can be coaches and we can help them be better next time. Now we can help them with some strategies for them to improve and learn more. That's the basic idea of the coach, the teacher coach. So here we have some questions that we can use with our students in the classroom in order to apply the Grow coaching model. For the goal part, what is your goal on a scale from 1 to 10? How important would you say this issue is to you? So every time there is this coaching moment, you can go back and refer to their goal and help them realize that maybe that specific attitude is not supporting the goal. And then reality, what's the most challenging thing about this right now for you in comparison with the ideal situation? Where are you at the moment with this? And can you give me a few examples of what you find most challenging? These are just examples, right? There are lots of other questions that we can use for each phase. For options, so what alternatives do you think you have here? Is there anything else you could be doing? What's stopping you from pursuing these options? So it's also very nice to provoke students to think about, because sometimes they say, oh, I can, study every day for 30 minutes. Oh, and what's stopping you from doing that? And then they stop and they think about their life, their reality, and say, oh, I cannot do that because my little baby was born 2 months ago and I just don't have this time. Okay, so let's be realistic. What can you do about it? Yeah. And will, it's the part where we create the action plan. So what are the steps you need to take now? What do you think is the first thing you need to do? And when are you planning to take that first step? A plan without, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Yeah, so we need to encourage our students to think about the goal, the plan, the obstacles they will face, their reality, the context they are today, and how they can put this all together and make things work. And it's also very important to revisit this from time to time. I had these coaching sessions with my students in the beginning of the year. We set the goal and we set the action plan, and every week we revisit the action plan. And with one of my students, for example, he just had a baby and his life is a complete mess. Everything's changed, and all the plan that he had done, now it's impossible to follow because he needs to support his wife and the baby. So now let's stop. Let's revisit the goal. Let's revisit the action plan, and let's do something different with the reality that you have today. Because one important thing is we need to motivate our students. And if they have a plan that doesn't match their life context, they will feel demotivated every time they do not follow the action plan. And this doesn't help. So, of course, we have a plan, but we can revisit and be flexible about it because life is never the same thing all the time. So, sorry. Okay. The coaching process, how does it work in the classroom? So, a coaching process usually takes 10 weeks. What we can do with our students is we can establish this 3-month framework with them, and we can work on a goal. This goal can be something that they need to achieve. For example, I need to be able to know how to present in English, or I need to be prepared for a job interview or something. This can be the goal. Or the goal can be simply to implement a new way of study, or reach a certain level, or finish units of a book. The goal has to be agreed, of course, with the students and also with the coach, because at some point they will rely on us to help them understand what can be done within the time frame. In the beginning of the year, I established the goals with my students using a tool, and we used the common European framework of reference for them to understand their reality, where they are nowadays with their English level, and also where they believe they can get by the end of the year, and then we worked with these goals. So this can be done in different ways, but this time frame of 10 weeks is a nice one because it gives them time to think about the goal, accommodate the actions, and see the results. And then in the classroom, for each week, we can use a different tool. There is a tool for the goal setting process based on the SMART goal framework, and then also tools for students to create their action plan and to monitor the action plan every week. And also some support tools for them to deal with demotivation or limiting beliefs, or maybe they need some, they are not committed to the action, so we can use tools to help boost their motivation. It depends on the moment the students are, and also the needs they have at that particular moment that the coach will be able to identify. But most of all, the coaching dialogue is the most effective tool. What we do in my classes, I have classes with my students, most of them twice a week. So in one of the classes, we revisit the goal, we revisit the plan and the actions that they've been doing for not such a long time, maybe 15 to 30 minutes, but we are doing that in English, so it's part of the class and they are aware of it. It also can be something extra, it depends on how the coach works with the students. In the end of each 3 months, there is an accountability, and we check the results, what worked, what didn't, and what they can keep doing or what they think they shouldn't do anymore. And there is a new goal setting and they start working on something new. That's how I do it with my students in my classroom. There are other ways, other coaches do it, but my point is, I am a teacher and I'm a coach. Yeah? I complement my teaching with my coaching skills, but things are not the same. Yeah? I do things at the same time with my students because they happen to be coached by their English teacher. But my teaching and the point of my teaching is one and the point of my coaching is another. I want to help them be more effective learners, and I use the coaching skills for that. And my conclusions. Well, when I became a coach, I decided, as I told you, to become a coach to help my students improve. But the person who improved the most was me. I learned so much about being more effective, about time management, about having more motivation and being more determined to get my goals. And it's like teaching. The more you teach, the more you learn, right? So the more you coach, the more you improve. And also, as a teacher, if we cannot use the skills that we have for ourselves, how are we going to teach someone? So in order to help my students be better at something, I need to try to be better at that thing before. So this coaching brought me lots of opportunities, and it really helped me become a better person. And what I think is really, really interesting about coaching is that nowadays there are a lot of initiatives about coaching in ELT. I don't see that much in Brazil, but here in Europe, when I attend IATEFL events, there are always lots of talks about coaching, so we see that teachers are more and more using these tools and techniques in their classes, which is great because they really work and they really help people learn better. Yeah? And also, we know that there are so many new ways of learning English, a lot of technology involved. I actually, honestly, don't know how long we're going to have a job with all these things that come up every day and Google this and that, and also so many online courses and a lot of promises of learn English so fast, you don't need to study it. learn English without thinking, this kind of thing that we know that they don't always work, but they attract people's attention. And I want to be different. I want to stand out in this market, and I want to be relevant for more time. And I believe that if I offer my students more than language learning, if I offer them skills that they can use in other areas of their lives, I will be more relevant in this market, and I will keep my place here for a longer time. So this is a very nice way of differentiating ourselves in the middle of so many offers, and especially thinking about the future, yeah, because by becoming a coach, you can coach your students, you can coach anyone else in any area. It doesn't have to be in English. You can do many other things as a coach. Okay, so that was what I had to say. I hope I helped you clarify what coaching is and get you more interested in coaching. I am the president of the Coaching in ELT SIG, the new special interest group in Brest-TESOL. So if you are not a Brest-TESOL member, you can become a member. It's not that hard, and it's very nice because you get lots of opportunities of development, such as the Southern Cone TESOL that will take place in Curitiba this year from July 17th to 20th. Unfortunately, I won't be there because it's a little bit far away from me. But if you have a chance, go there. The first Brest-TESOL conference I attended was in 2001. I actually had no idea what I was doing there, but I was always very enthusiastic about ELT events, so it was my first, and after that I attended many, and here I am today talking to you, and thank you so much for being here with me on a Sunday lunchtime. For me it's 6:46 now, it's already evening here, but yeah, it was a real pleasure talking to you, and I thank you so much for your time. If you have questions, you can also ask me by email, but now I will open for questions. I will unmute you so that you can talk to me if you have any questions. Okay, just a second. All right. It's so nice to hear voices because when we speak here, it's like we are alone.
Hey, hello.
All right, guys, do you have
Hello.
questions? Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Who's speaking?
This is Stefan.
Hi. How are you?
Great. I just answered your email actually. So I was just wondering. You're saying that you're a teacher and a coach, and from what you described about coaching, teachers don't. Coaches ask questions more, right? They don't really actually give answers. They don't tell students what to do. Kind of ask questions, right?
Yeah.
So, is it easy to switch from the coach and from the teacher, vice versa? Do you find it easy, or you find yourself sometimes overlapping?
It's definitely a challenge because as teachers, we are always telling them what to do. So yeah, sometimes I have to stop myself from telling them what to do, and they ask you, they say, oh, come on, give me some ideas. No, you know better, you have experience. Okay, but I want to hear your ideas first. And when they get stuck, of course, I'm not a robot. Sometimes I help them, but I help them in a different way. I try to facilitate the answer. I don't give them the answer right away, Just like we do when we are explaining them something, and like they ask you a question, what does this word mean in English? We try to explain the word before we actually tell them the word. That's how I actually do that if they need my help. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and another thing, well, I mean, because a lot of times we have to give feedback, right?
Yeah.
And can, there can be this overlap of we have to give feedback, and especially adults who want us to always correct them. How do you deal with that? They might be focusing on, you know,
I do the correction all the time. Yeah, I like to correct them a lot, especially grammar and pronunciation. I do that, and what I do is I try to show them the strategies not to make the same mistakes again, and and then at some point, if they are still making the same mistakes, then I switch to the coach side and say, okay, so what are we doing here? Yeah, like you told me that you need to improve. So what can you do with this feedback that I gave you not to make this mistake again? So think about it. And then I try to bring their perspective into the conversation. And I try to help them see that if they don't change something, they will keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And this, yeah, it sorts of overlap from time to time because of the feedback we need to give. But always with this idea of not interfering so much. Yeah, so I think this changed a lot since I became a coach. Yeah, try to listen more than speak, and try to make them speak more than speak myself, you know? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. As I think we have a culture of, especially nowadays, we want easy answers, we want quick solutions. Everybody wants something fast, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that if you want them to reflect, they might not be willing to do that. You know? Okay, I have to think about this all the time. You know? You keep asking them questions. And we're not, in schools, they're not used to the Socratic method of asking and asking questions. That's another problem, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we do need to learn how to ask more efficient questions, you know, questions that promote more reflection. So there are lots of questions available, lists of questions that we can pick some of them that we want to really incorporate in our everyday teaching life. So yeah, we can make a list of some questions for each of the phases. For example, in my case, that I use the Grow coaching model, and keep those questions somewhere I can see, so that I can look at them from time to time to ask more efficient questions as well. Yeah, but you're right. There should be this focus on asking them to think about these strategies. Yeah, because the point is, I tell them, guys, I don't want to be teaching you forever. I want you to be autonomous. So let's think about what you're doing. Yeah, and sometimes they get a little bit upset, you know, like I said, okay, I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to make you learn. So please help me out here. Yeah, and we go from that point to a better way, because they are adults. They know they need it, and oh yeah, that's important. Coaching is only for adults. Yeah, not for kids or teenagers. It won't work because they don't see how important the actions are.
Can I ask a question?
Definitely, go ahead. Who's speaking?
It's Sarah. It's just because it's just a number. It's because a new computer. I haven't picked up yet.
Okay.
So my question, and I think it's like, I like it when you mentioned that in Europe, for instance, this coaching process is very common. And here in Brazil, however, it isn't. Students are so dependent on teachers, and whenever I try, you know, like to bring this into their minds, like that they should be independent, that I just would be there to leading them into something, just as a coach, I see their faces sometimes, they complain, you know what I mean? It's like most Brazilian students are not used to this technique. It's something that's a little bit hard to bring it to our classroom still, I'd say so. And but my point is, when you mentioned that teaching is completely different from coaching, it really clicks my mind that it's sometimes that I should be having some more techniques on this teaching approach, I would say. It's not a teacher, but a coach, and how to input this in students. How could I let them know better the importance of being independent and seeing the difference of a coach and a teacher? What would you say about that?
Thank you for the question and for being here. Yeah, I think the most important part of the coaching process is when the coachee actually wants to be coached. Yeah, so there should be an agreement before. They should be aware of what coaching is and how you're going to behave as a coach, and that you are going to be asking questions and that you won't be giving them answers and solutions all the time. So this agreement should be very clear before the process starts. All my students know that I'm a coach, and then I tell them, look, let's start a coaching process. What do you say? Would you like to make things different this time? And if they agree, then great, then we do it. And as I said, when things get rough and then I act like a coach and they may get upset and I see their faces, they're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. And then I tell them, look, you have a goal and you count on me to help you get there. And this is my job. I'm just doing my job. So come on, let's work together. What can I do to help you? Let me know what's going on. And we are very honest and open with each other. And all my lessons are one-to-one, so it's easier to have this kind of relationship with the students. Maybe in groups this would be more challenging, but yeah, I believe the agreement is the best way to help them understand that sometimes if you are a little bit hard on them, it's because of the process and what the process requires. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's just, as you said, I think at maybe the very first class, we start having some agreements, like set goals and let them also ask questions and make them produce more since the beginning. But let them know that it's essential that they take part in this, take steps, not waiting for me to do everything for them. So, but it's much easier when you have a one-to-ones. However, when you have a groups, for instance, it's pretty challenging. But if they understand since the very beginning, it's going to be easier. But thank you so much for the topic. I really enjoy it.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here. An idea with the groups is maybe to establish the individual learning goals, but maybe a goal for the group. Like maybe, okay, so everybody is going to follow their action plan in this way or that way, and this is the goal of the group, that to get them engaged, and this will also help them with being more committed, because when you are committed to the community, you are much more likely to follow the things that you established. So maybe you can think about a strategy as well to engage everyone in the group.
Marcela,
yeah.
Can I have one last question? Can I ask one last question?
Of course, go ahead.
You talked just about the idea of working with groups and maybe with teachers. Do you think it's okay if we had maybe, let's say, what we call peer coaching, so that teachers can coach each other, especially at the beginning when those who are not familiar with coaching or very little about the topic, they could kind of count on each other's support to do that. I don't know, does that work? Is it possible?
Yes, that would be wonderful, because there's a saying in coaching that every coach needs a coach, and of course we can count on each other for support and mainly for sharing ideas, because this is something new. Yeah, coaching students in the language classroom is new, and there are lots of different ways of doing it, and the more that we share, the better it will be for everybody. So there is the group Coaching in ELT SIG on Facebook, And if people join the group and we could have this kind of sharing there, it would be great. I would love to hear from you and to share. We have also another very experienced coach in the group. I'm not sure you know her, Gladys Garcia. She was presenting yesterday with Troika about positive psychology. She's very experienced, and I'm sure she would love to help us also with these discussions in the group. Yeah, so go to Facebook, like the community, and we're gonna create some very nice discussions there.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One more question, and then we can go enjoy the Sunday. Anyone else would like to ask? Well, I take it as a no, yeah. But thank you all again so much. So this is the official launch of the Coaching in the Autistic from Rusty. So join the discussions on Facebook, like our page, and in the future there will be articles. We're gonna hold another event in October. We still don't know the topic, but I'm sure it's gonna be something very interesting. And let's try to bring more people into coaching, because I guarantee, guys, coaching works, people improve, people become better people, and it's all for the best. Don't misinterpret coaching, because it really is something real and it can really help everybody, especially teachers, to be more relevant in the market. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm finishing now. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you soon.